Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today. So, last video when I said I may do our technique as a layout, yeah, I changed my mind. So, we're going to do 4 cards today, and I'm going to use the glass mat and see if I get better results as far as the kind of smushing technique using the distress crayons. So I'm just laying down the color. It's going to be a little hard to see because it's in the black area, but I wanted more space than just using like on the white side. Um, but we're still going to use the water, let it sit. Well, I didn't let it sit that much, but we just gonna, kind of play with the layers. And if you remember on the last one when we did this, we did go on top using stencils, and we're going to do that again. There's something about just making a really pretty background with a simple sentiment right on top. It makes for just really pretty cards, and you can like pop up the sentiment. You can leave the sentiments flat on top of it. It's up to you. But all I did was I dried it and then I wet my glass mat again and just went in and kept smushing on our paper. Now this particular paper is actually it's a new brand for me. I don't have the name right at the top of my head right now, but it does work well as far as using for like mixed media and stuff. But I can tell the difference between this and using foundations paper. And the thing that's a little bit different is just how the how do I explain? Foundations paper feels like there's like it's been treated like how you would do like if you use gesso and stuff like that on regular paper. Whereas this one, it just feels like it's a thicker quality paper, but I can tell that like stuff responds differently on it than when I use necessarily the foundations paper. But we're just going to keep creating our backgrounds. And the key is the heat in between and then go back down because it does reactivate with water. But what we're hoping to do is that with it being mostly dry, that when we put it back on top or back into the the medium on the mat, it's gonna just add some more color and then not necessarily just reactivate, if that makes sense. And then we'll heat that and put that to the side. And I'm just cleaning the mat with the water and then wiping it up with my cloth. And now we're going to play with some of the shimmers. And let me tell you, I think the shimmers, I really think the shimmers, there's something about them. I love anything that glitters. But I really did enjoy this color combo. And that's what was interesting. I was looking at the 3 colors in the package that you bought, and they're really nice color palettes as themselves, you know what I mean? And I just loved how this one turned out. I think this one is probably my favorite. I love the color, the kind of like peachy orange, and then the lighter color in between. Yeah, I really did enjoy this one. And then I take the edge and I'm trying to like get more of that peachy color on the very edge of the paper. And then also kind of squishing down the center to try and give it a little bit more. Now, what's interesting with the light colors in the shimmers, it's really nice because when you tilt it, you can still see that shimmer effect, right? So there's something there. even though it may not be screaming like, oh yeah, we did 3 colors on here, because it's blending more into the paper. But I really did enjoy the effect that it created. And if you didn't want to waste, any of the color you had down, you could use like scrap paper and stuff like that. But for the video itself, I just wanted to do the 4 papers that I have, and keep it moving. Now this one was an interesting one too. I want to create the same effect. So we're going to do the blue. We're going to use the lighter one in the middle. And then that red. And this one actually, I know you're going to think red, white, and blue, right? No, what I thought, you remember those ice cream popsicles? It kind of reminds me of that. I don't know why, but that's what it reminds me of. All right. Now this one, I wanted to try having it sit a little bit longer, which is what I did. And it really did create almost very similar effects that the last one did. But after we heat it, same technique, we're going to just smush it for a little bit more. And I finally found my tweezers so I could stop burning my hand on the last one, of course. Spray a little bit of water and then pounce, pounce, pounce. And just keep adding water. The best thing about the mat is glass mat or the Tim Holtz mat. Whatever type of mat that you're using, as long as it's non-porous, you could just keep adding water. It reactivates the crayon, and you could just keep doing this method until you got the background that you wanted. Add more crayon to the mat, add a little bit more water, and keep going. But I was like, let's go ahead. We'll spritz. I'm going to grab some of that color up, and let's start doing our stencil technique. So I've been using on this and doing this, the Vicki Boutin stencil brush, and I found that it works really well for this particular method that using and picking up the crayon is able to give just enough of a definition on the background that it's like, okay. And I wind up, I think, yeah, I do have to put a little bit more color down. And just a little bit of water. It picks it back up. It's on the brush, the hairs of the brush. And it gives you a nice definition with the stencil. And I think with the, you could probably do this with one of the other distress tools, or like the other brushes where they're more like makeup brushes. But there's something about the stencil brush that I found it works really well with getting the color up and then putting it through the stencil. And I think it's because of the stiff hairs. It just works really good. And then that's it. Hold it up. It just really creates an interesting texture. Okay. And then we're going to do something like that, basically. I already had my sentiments all stamped out. I used a waffle flower stamp and die set. So I just stamped the sentiments and then used the matching die to punch them out. All right. So let's use the next one. And we're going to use different stencils on each background. So we're just going to continue the same thing. Now on the lighter colors, I do try and clean my bristles in between. But I think sometimes it is hard not to get a little bit of color transfer You just have to be mindful of when you're grabbing like the different colors and making sure that you're cleaning in between. Because the color itself does have some tint to it. It's not a pure white color, so obviously there's some color to it. But you just want to make sure your bristles are definitely clean. Or use more than one brush. And I didn't think to grab another brush, so we just gonna keep on moving. And start back over. And I just slide it up. And the cool thing about these smaller ones is it's easy to line up the pattern so you can keep going. And I know I was watching Tim Holtz's video about these, and he said you can leave the caps off and da da da. I don't know. I just felt like I needed to put the caps back on. But if you were trying to save yourself some time and headache, you could just leave the caps off, and especially while you're working on that particular color, or just leave the cap off. It'll be okay. And then I love how this darkened up down at the bottom. Yeah. So much so I had to move it back over and get some more down. And then we're going to hold it up. I should hold it up so that way you can see it. I try to hold them up each time in between, so you could see. Now, I will tell you this. Is it here? No. I can't remember. At one of these points, I wind up having to make a quick stop, and I wind up at the end instead of you guys seeing the whole process, and it may be coming up. I do apologize if I missed a section, but everything that I'm doing is the same thing. So really there's two lessons here. Not only the technique that we're using to create for these cards, but for mass producing, right? So whenever you want to do more than one card at a time and you're kind of creating the same effect, that's the finished look, by the way. It's important that you do whatever element out at the same time. You cut all the papers, you fold all the papers. You know what I mean? So like each step you're completing as you go. So that way when you do the last step, which for me was the splattering, your cards are all done. Once the splatter's dry, that's it, right? So that's the key. So we've been doing all the stenciling. We're on the last card front. I got a little bigger of a die of a stencil on this one, and I like the idea of they could be rainbows, they could be like scallops. Either way, it's really pretty on this background using the tone on tone. And then I was like, you know what? No, I'm just going to color the entire thing in this one because it's so pretty. And on the end, this one doesn't really line up as well as the other ones, but I was able to get just enough color because I knew I was going to be kind of cutting these down. And we just wanted a little bit of detail so it's not like evident that the stencil was short. Okay. And then we're going to clean. And I'm just brushing my tool along my cloth here to get that color off. And then we're going to try and take the color off of the stencil and set that aside. And then once everything is basically wiped down and clean, we're going to start putting these cards together. And in doing so, that means we're going to start by trimming it down. So the panels that I have here were originally 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which is an actual card front. Now, whenever you want to have a little bit of a border, then you just trim it down to 4 by 5 1/4. And that's taking obviously 1/4 of an inch off. And then that gives you a nice border around your focal image on the actual card base. And then if you wanted like, a mat for this, then you could actually go a little bit smaller and then add a mat. You know what I mean? You could do it as however you want. For me, the card base is enough of a border. I didn't need a mat on top of that. Plus, these papers, this particular paper is heavier. So I didn't feel like I needed to add more weight to it. Just this was enough. And I'm going to grab my clear block, which I love because it sits on top and it helps hold it down while I go on to the next project. All right. And then if you guys have any questions about this technique, or if you want to see it used in another way, I don't even know what way. I'm thinking I still want to use it on my layout, but my problem was I couldn't figure out what collection to use with my photos. This is the first time I actually had the photos first, and I'm like, okay, what collection do I want to use with this? So, and because I couldn't decide, I was like, well, I guess we're going to be making cards. Oh my goodness. Even though I do like that red shimmery color. And in my picture, there's red shirts in it. So, I don't know. Maybe we might have to try it. Okay. And we're just gluing it down again. We got the glass block on top. And then we're going to move it to the side and put it on top of that one. So here we go. I start to lay out some of the sentiments. And on these two, I was like, you know what? Let's lay them flat. So I'm just going to add some glue. And this little, like, glue booger came out, so I had to clean it. But the sentiments are just because, sending hugs, and the big one is hugs for today, love for always. And when I did it, I just cut like both sentiments twice. So after when I was done, I was left with 2 sentiments. So if I wanted to make a card really quick and slap a sentiment on top of it, I do have a couple that are available. And on these, I decided, yep, we're gonna pop them up, okay? So I'm just adding down some of my foam and a couple of the pieces I cut in half for the sides. And then we'll add a little bit of glue on top of the foam and lay that down. And you could put the block on top of this one as well. I don't, for this purpose, I just let the glue kind of settle on its own. But it's important to use the glue. One, it allows you to move your stuff around a little bit before it adheres. But also because we had the crayon texture on top, we want to make sure that it adheres, And sometimes when you use mixed media products, regular tape or like sticky from your foam doesn't always work as well. All right. So now here are cards, and you can leave them here, but I'm not. Oh, no. Tisk, tisk, tisk. I'm adding me some color. So first, I decided to use the Distress Spritz Tumble Glass, which was like a perfect blue match. And then on the Sending Hugs one, I just did the whites. So this one was just the spritz and the white for the splatters. And then on this one, I'm using on the blue section the tumble glass. On the red section up at the top, I used Yuletide, and then white over the whole thing. And that's what you do. You just find the colors that best match. Now, for this particular one, which, like I said, wound up being my favorite. I just used the gold fossilized amber and the Nuvo, I think it's pecan peach, however you want to say it, in the mica mist. And it matched so well. I mean, it's crazy. And I sprayed it down on the darker side of it too, because I just feel like, I don't know, like this one you could use it all over the whole card. Unlike the red, white, and blue, I didn't want the blue up on the red. You know, like I was trying to keep them separate, but on this one, I just covered the whole thing. And then on our last one, I was going to use a pink, and then I realized that it really wasn't the right shade of pink. So I just grabbed the gold. I already had it shook up. And then on this one, I added the white and black. So even though I didn't do a specific color, I still feel like those are usually my go-tos anyway. As far as like my 3-pack, if I'm doing three different colors, is usually black, white, and gold, and it goes really well. I like how this one ends up. And then we're gonna clean this off real quick so we can lay them all down and y'all can see the final projects. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. This was so much fun. It was messy. It took a little bit, but it was fun doing the color combos and the stenciling. You know, I really do enjoy using the stencils, and it's one of those tools or things that you buy for the craft room that never go old, because you can keep reusing and reusing and reusing. So get your stencils out, have some fun, play with your different mediums, and just have a good time. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you have a great day today. And like I said before, leave a comment down below if you have any questions. And otherwise, I will see you with our next video. Have a great one.